First Contact Fallout. The grand chamber of the Galactic Assembly had never been so silent. 2,000 representatives from across the known universe sat in stunned disbelief as the holographic display at the center of the vast amphitheater showed a Vexari warship erupting into a brilliant supernova of light, debris scattering into the void. It was the flagship of the invasion fleet, a vessel that had conquered 17 worlds across 3 star systems without sustaining so much as a hull breach. High Chancellor Ziv Torax of the Vexari Alliance stood before the assembly, his normally lustrous silver scales now dull to an ashen gray. The 4 tentacles that framed his face hung limp, a physiological sign of extreme distress among his species. "Impossible," he muttered, his translator struggling to convey the mixture of shock and horror in his voice. "Simply impossible." Supreme Arbiter Kelmar, the ancient Duraxian, who had presided over the Galactic Assembly for nearly 3 centuries, leaned forward on his hovering platform. His 12 eyes blinked in rapid sequence, a sign of intense calculation among his kind. "You chose to invade Earth." The Arbiter's voice carried no inflection, yet it cut through the chamber like a plasma blade. "After all our warnings, after all our intelligence reports, you still proceeded with this folly." Ziv Torax's scales rippled in humiliation. They were primitive, divided, their military forces scattered across a single planet, their technology barely capable of reaching their own moon. "Our simulations projected total victory within 3 planetary rotations." Ambassador Threlzor of the Meraxian Commonwealth rose from his seat, his crystalline body refracting light in patterns that conveyed deep concern. "And yet here we are, 14 solar cycles later, and not only have they repelled your invasion, but they've—" He paused, searching for appropriate words. "They've utterly decimated your fleet." The holographic display shifted to show what remained of the once mighty Vexari Armada, smoldering wrecks drifting in Earth's orbit, disabled vessels being boarded by small, agile human craft, and scattered escape pods fleeing toward the relative safety of Mars. "How?" demanded Ziv Torax. "How could beings who haven't even mastered efficient interplanetary travel defeat our quantum-shielded battlecruisers?" On Earth, Commander Elena Reyes stood in the United Earth Defense Force headquarters beneath the Rocky Mountains. What had once been a fragmented collection of national military commands had, in the face of alien invasion, coalesced into humanity's unified shield in just days. "Status report," she demanded, her voice steady despite having gone 72 hours without sleep. "All orbital invaders neutralized," Commander, reported Lieutenant Quan. "The last of their capital ships just went dark. Our boarding teams are securing alien technology as we speak." Reyes nodded, allowing herself the faintest smile. 2 weeks ago, she had been commanding a modest international space station. Now she led Earth's first interplanetary defense force, a position thrust upon her when the Vexari ships first appeared in orbit and opened fire on the planet's major cities. And the ground forces. Colonel Okeffer's voice came through the command center speakers from his position in Eastern Europe. "We've turned their landing strategy against them, Commander. Their troops are designed for direct confrontation. They had no contingency for humans who fight back using guerrilla tactics and improvised weapons. Civilian resistance groups have been—" He paused, chuckling, extraordinarily creative. Back in the Galactic Assembly, a new figure had taken the floor. Dreth Kerr, military strategist for the hegemony of 7 suns, a species known for their brutal efficiency in warfare. "Allow me to explain your failure," he said to Ziv Torax, mandibles clicking in what might have been amusement. "You studied human technology, but not human history. You observed their divisions but missed their defining characteristic. They become remarkably unified when faced with an external threat." The holographic display shifted again, showing humans from various nations working together, sharing resources, coordinating attacks against Vexari positions. "Look here," Dreth Kerr continued, pointing a chitinous appendage toward the display. Their communications infrastructure remained largely intact because it's redundant and decentralized. Within hours, they were sharing tactics globally. Within days, they had reverse-engineered the propulsion system from one of your downed scout ships. The galactic assembly erupted in murmurs. Supreme Arbiter Kelmar silenced them with a wave of his upper limb. "Continue," he instructed. "Their adaptability is unparalleled," Drethker explained. "Observe how they've modified their primitive projectile weapons with salvaged Vexeri energy cells. Notice how quickly they deduced the vulnerabilities in your shield harmonics. Most concerning of all, he zoomed the display in on a human facility where engineers were already disassembling a captured Vexeri vessel. See how methodically they're studying your technology." Zivtorax's color drained further. "We must send reinforcements immediately. We cannot allow them to." "It's too late," interrupted Ambassador Threlzor. "Our long-range sensors have detected unusual activity in Earth's orbit. They're already adapting your faster-than-light communication array. They'll have contacted our nearest outposts by the end of this assembly session." In Earth orbit, Dr. Sophia Chen floated in zero gravity inside the captured Vexeri command ship, her eyes wide with wonder as she studied the alien navigation system. What had initially appeared incomprehensible was rapidly yielding its secrets to human ingenuity. "It's based on principles we theorized but couldn't implement," she explained to the team of international scientists working alongside her. "Their mathematical models are elegant, but they've been using the same designs for so long, they've stopped innovating. We can improve this." Commander Rice's voice came through their communication channel. "How soon can we adapt their propulsion system to our vessels?" Dr. Chen exchanged glances with her colleagues. "Days, not weeks." "And Commander," her voice dropped to a near whisper, "we found their star maps. We know where they came from." The Galactic Assembly had shifted from shocked silence to panicked debate. Representatives from 100 species spoke over one another, proposing everything from immediate diplomatic outreach to a full-scale quarantine of the Sol system. Drethker silenced them with a harsh, chittering sound. "You all missed the point. The humans were not primitive because they lacked the capacity for advancement. They were primitive because they hadn't yet been challenged on a galactic scale." He manipulated the holographic controls, bringing up historical data. Every species here evolved gradually into space travel, with centuries or millennia between planetary exploration and interstellar capabilities. Humans will make that leap in months, perhaps weeks, and they will do so not with our patient, methodical approach, but with the urgency and creativity of a species fighting for survival. Supreme Arbiter Kelmar's expression remained unreadable. "What do you suggest, strategist?" "The Vexeri have awakened something dangerous," Drethker replied. "The humans will not simply defend. They will hunt. And based on my analysis of their historical conflicts, they will not stop until they believe the threat is eliminated permanently." The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. Zivtorax sank to his knees, his translator struggling to convey the complex emotions in his next words. "What have we done?" On Earth, humanity's brightest minds worked tirelessly, fueled by a combination of fear, determination, and an unprecedented spirit of global cooperation. National borders had become meaningless in the face of extraterrestrial aggression. Resources flowed freely between former adversaries, scientists shared breakthroughs instantly across global networks, and military forces coordinated with an efficiency that would have been unthinkable weeks earlier. In the skies above New Delhi, London, Beijing, and Sao Paulo, strange new aircraft appeared, hybrid creations combining human design with salvaged alien technology. They moved with impossible grace, testing capabilities that human physicists were still struggling to explain. In orbit, the first human interstellar vessel was taking shape, a repurposed Vexeri scout ship now bristling with human modifications and improvements. Engineer teams had named it Vengeance, though Commander Reyes was pushing for the more diplomatic Emissary. The name hardly mattered. What mattered was what waited beyond, in the black between stars, and the message humanity would send when they arrived. "Stars of Vengeance. They've launched," announced Drethker, his voice unnaturally quiet in the Galactic Assembly Chamber. The holographic display showed a fleet of vessels departing Earth orbit, sleek, predatory shapes that bore little resemblance to the Vexari ships they'd been constructed from. In just 47 days, humans had not only mastered alien technology, but had reimagined it, creating something new, and by all sensor readings, more efficient. Impossible, whispered High Chancellor Ziv Torax, though by now the word had lost all meaning. Nothing about the humans had conformed to Vexari expectations. Supreme Arbiter Kelmar's hovering platform drifted toward the center of the chamber. Where are they headed? The question hung heavily in the air. Everyone knew the answer, but no one dared speak it aloud until Threl Zor, the Maraxian ambassador, finally gave voice to their collective fear. They're on a direct course for Vexar Prime. The assembly erupted in pandemonium. Representatives shouted over one another, some demanding immediate military intervention, others insisting on diplomatic outreach before the situation escalated further. A few, primarily from species with warrior cultures, watched the unfolding chaos with something resembling admiration. Aboard the UES Horizon, the renamed flagship of humanity's improvised fleet, Commander Elena Rice studied the star map showing their planned journey to the heart of Vexari space. The vessel hummed with energy systems that Earth's best physicists were still working to fully understand, crewed by a multinational team united by a singular purpose. Time to Vexari-controlled space, she asked. 17 hours at current velocity, replied Navigation Officer Takahashi. But Dr. Chen believes we can increase our speed by at least 30% once the modified drive core stabilizes. Reyes nodded, studying the tactical display where 5 other ships, each commanded by officers from different Earth nations, maintained perfect formation around the horizon. The fleet wasn't large by galactic standards, but it carried something the assembly species had never anticipated: humanity's boundless capacity for adaptation and innovation. And the package? Reyes asked, turning to Dr. Chen, who floated near the modified Vexari communications array. Ready for deployment, Chen confirmed. Though I still believe this is a risk. Noted, Reyes said with a tight smile. But sometimes the greatest risk is taking no risk at all. In the Galactic Assembly, a new figure had taken the floor. Kavosh, the eldest representative of the Luminar Conclave, a species so ancient they had witnessed the rise and fall of entire civilizations. His luminescent body pulsed with colors that indicated deep concern. We have erred grievously, Kavosh announced, his translator converting his light patterns into speech. Not just the Vexari, but all of us. We observed humanity from afar and saw only their technological limitations. We failed to recognize their true strength. He gestured toward the holographic display, which now showed historical footage from Earth's archives. Humans overcoming seemingly insurmountable obstacles, rebuilding after disasters, advancing from primitive flight to space exploration in less than a century. Look at their history, Kavosh continued. They do not develop linearly as most species do. They evolve in bursts, driven by necessity and challenge. The Vexari invasion was the greatest challenge they had ever faced, and we are witnessing the explosive adaptation that follows. Drethker clicked his mandibles in agreement. Their spacecraft designs have already surpassed Vexari efficiency ratings. They've improved upon stolen technology rather than merely replicating it. My analysis suggests their vessels may even outperform our hegemony warships in several key metrics. High Chancellor Ziv Torax's translator emitted a sound approximating a wail. Then we are doomed. They will not stop at Vexar Prime. They will continue until every world that supported our alliance lies in ruins. Perhaps, Kavosh acknowledged, or perhaps not. There is another aspect of human history worth noting. The display shifted to show Earth's diplomatic achievements, former enemies signing peace accords, global cooperation initiatives, international aid efforts during crisis. They are capable of forgiveness and alliance building, even after bitter conflict, Kavosh observed. but they respect strength and honesty. We must meet them as equals, not as superior beings deigning to acknowledge them. Before the assembly could respond, the chamber's communication system chimed with an urgent alert. The holographic display flickered, and suddenly a human face appeared. Commander Elena Reyes, broadcasting from the bridge of the horizon. "Attention, Galactic Assembly," she began, her words automatically translated for each representative. "I am Commander Elena Reyes of the United Earth Defense Force. Our fleet will reach Vexari space within 16 hours. The chamber fell silent, every being transfixed by this unprecedented direct communication. "Contrary to what you may believe, we do not come seeking only vengeance," Rice continued. "We come seeking understanding and assurances. The Vexari attacked without provocation or warning. They targeted civilian populations and attempted to destroy our sovereignty. These are acts we cannot, and will not, allow to go unanswered." Rice paused, her expression firm but not vengeful. "However, we recognize that the Vexari Alliance does not represent all spacefaring civilizations. We are prepared to establish diplomatic relations with any species that acknowledges humanity's right to exist freely among the stars." In the assembly chamber, delegates exchanged astonished glances. This was not the bloodthirsty retribution many had expected. "To demonstrate both our capabilities and our intentions," Rice continued, "we are transmitting 2 data packages. The first contains the specifications for an improved version of the Vexari quantum shield technology. Our engineers identified and corrected several inefficiencies in the original design." Drethker's mandibles clicked rapidly in surprise as he reviewed the incoming data on his personal console. "Remarkable," he muttered. "They've improved energy efficiency by 23%. "The second package," Rice said, her voice taking on a harder edge, "is a detailed scan of Vexar Prime's defensive grid, including the precise coordinates of what we believe are 37 critical vulnerabilities. We identified these weaknesses during our analysis of captured Vexari technology." High Chancellor Zivtorax collapsed into his seat, scales now nearly white with terror. "We offer these demonstrations not as a threat, but as evidence that humanity cannot and will not be subjugated," Rice declared. "We seek peace through strength and mutual respect. We await your response." The transmission ended, leaving the assembly in stunned silence. Supreme Arbiter Kelmar was the first to recover. "It seems," he said slowly, "that the humans understand galactic politics better than we anticipated. They offer both the carrot and the stick. We should destroy them while we still can," hissed a representative from the Skorlax Imperium, a notoriously aggressive species, "before they grow stronger." Kavash's body flashed with dismissive colors. "Did you not hear their message? They detected flaws in Vexari defenses that have stood unchallenged for centuries. They improved technology they encountered mere weeks ago. How can you possibly believe destruction is still an option?" Drethker manipulated his console, projecting new data for all to see. "My analysis confirms their claims. The vulnerabilities they identified in Vexari systems are real, and they would likely find similar weaknesses in all our defenses given time." High Chancellor Zivtorax finally found his voice. "What would they have us do? Surrender unconditionally?" "No," said Threlzor thoughtfully. "They're offering a choice, the same choice advanced civilizations have always offered to emerging ones. Join us as equals or face consequences." A new voice joined the conversation. Elder Angithal of the Erosion Collective, a species known for their diplomatic acumen. They wish to be acknowledged, to be respected, and to be secure. "These are not unreasonable demands. They are primitives," protested Zivtorax. "We're primitives," corrected Kavash. "Now they are innovators who have surpassed your technological understanding in specific areas. Evolution is not measured in centuries, Chancellor, but in adaptability." Supreme Arbiter Kelmer raised all 12 of his limbs, silencing the chamber. "We face a critical juncture. Do we welcome a new species that has demonstrated remarkable potential, or do we risk a conflict that could reshape the galaxy?" The assembly deliberated for hours while the human fleet continued its inexorable approach toward Vexari space. Finally, a consensus emerged, not unanimous, but sufficient. When Commander Reyes received the assembly's response, she allowed herself a small smile. The terms were reasonable: a cessation of hostilities, restitution for Earth's damaged cities, exchange of diplomatic envoys, and humanity's provisional membership in the Galactic Assembly, with full membership to be granted once certain technological and social benchmarks were achieved. Your thoughts, Doctor? Reyes asked, turning to Sophia Chen. They're still underestimating us, Chen replied, studying the technological benchmarks listed in the agreement. We'll meet these requirements within a year, not the decade they've allotted. Reyes nodded. That works in our favor. We need time to establish ourselves, to build a proper fleet, to secure our position. And then? Asked Lieutenant Quan. Commander Reyes looked out at the vast starfield visible through the horizon's viewport, countless worlds waiting to be discovered. And then we remind the galaxy that humanity doesn't just survive. We thrive. One standard galactic year later, the Galactic Assembly convened for a historic occasion, the formal recognition of Earth as a full member world. Supreme Arbiter Kelmar presided over the ceremony, watching with all 12 eyes as Elena Reyes, now Admiral Reyes, took her place in the human delegation's newly constructed assembly chamber. We welcome Earth to the community of galactic civilizations, Kelmar announced. May your unique perspective enrich us all. What went unspoken, but understood by every being present, was how profoundly humanity had already changed the galactic order. Earth's rapid technological advancement had inspired a renaissance of innovation across multiple species. Their diplomatic approach, firm but fair, had resolved 3 long-standing interstellar conflicts, and their insistence on rights for all sentient beings had sparked reform movements on dozens of worlds. As humanity took its place among the stars, the galaxy held its collective breath, wondering what these remarkable beings would accomplish next, and hoping they would remain allies rather than adversaries in the vast cosmic future that awaited them all.